Knicks Deli edition.
We're going to talk about how the Knicks are reloaded with Mike Brown's 43s a game vision. Mike Brown has a bold plan. The Knicks will fire up 43 pointers a game. Don't that sound a little bit crazy? But it's exactly what Mike D'Antoni's Knicks were doing back in 2010, before the Melo trade. I know, I can't let it go. That's when Amar'e was dropping 30 every night. Felton was having a career year, and Charles Barkley swore that no team could win playing that way, hating ass. But if you fast forward to today, and history might be repeating, only this time Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Karl-Anthony Towns, Clarkson, Josh Hart, Deuce, Shamet, Yabusele, the roster's deeper, the roster's tougher, and it's built for two-way play. So could the Knicks become the Golden State Warriors 2.0 on a new coast with a new cast and a new coach? That's what I want to break down here on Knicks Deli. When Mike Brown stood at the podium during training camp and casually revealed that his goal was for the Knicks to average 43 pointers a game, or at least the attempts per game, it sent a ripple through basketball circles, especially Knicks fans. For most franchises, it would sound like a little more than a modern tweak. After all, the league has been trending towards volume three-point shooting for nearly a decade now. But in New York, that declaration felt heavier. And for me, you know that thing struck a chord. Because we as New Yorkers, we remember when the Knicks briefly became the epicenter of basketball innovation. Don't get me tight right now. Years before Steph Curry turned the Bay into a dynasty, we remember when Mike D'Antoni's system unleashed Raymond Felton's best season. When Gallinari and Wilson Chandler spread the floor with audacious confidence. When Amar'e Stoudemire looked like the second coming of a Knicks messiah, which caught Carmelo's interest. They remember the nights. Madison Square Garden pulsed with a rhythm foreign to its own tradition. We were fast-paced. We were free-flowing. We were three-point heavy. And for a fleeting stretch in the early 2010s, we as the Knicks, we were the Golden State Warriors before Golden State was. And now, more than a decade later, Brown is offering to bring it back. Only this time with stronger talent, deeper roster, unselfish two-way players, and in an Eastern Conference that looks vulnerable right now. More so than it has in years past. If the D'Antoni experiment was a revolution cut short, Mike Brown's Knicks may be full grown as a second act, and that's what excites me as a fan. So let me go backwards. Let's revisit that real quick. In 2008, Mike D'Antoni arrived in New York with a reputation as an offensive visionary. His 7 seconds or less Phoenix Suns offense had electrified the NBA earlier in the decade. He had Steve Nash orchestrating a system that was built on pace, spacing, and three-point volume. By the time D'Antoni landed in Manhattan, the league was still largely suspicious of three-point heavy basketball. The Spurs and the Lakers were winning titles on discipline and balance, shooting 33s a night, but was still considered reckless. D'Antoni didn't care though. And the Knicks, for decades, a franchise steeped in grit, defense, and half-court grind, we were suddenly running, spacing, and bombing from deep. The roster was built for it at first. We have remnants of Isaiah Thomas's era, which made the earlier years clunky, but by 2010, the pieces were finally aligning. That season, the Knicks, we were rolling. Y'all gotta remember, Raymond Felton was reborn. After bouncing between Charlotte and mediocrity, he suddenly thrived as D'Antoni's floor general. He was averaging a career best 17 points and 9 assists. Amar'e Stoudemire was newly signed from Phoenix. He looked like a superstar that was reborn. He launched into a scoring tear, averaging nearly 26 points per game and delivering an unforgettable stretch of 9 straight games of 30 points. MSG hadn't felt energy like that since Patrick Ewing. We had Danilo Gallinari. He was the sharpshooter that the Garden craved. 6'10" forward, confidently jacking threes from deep range. We had Wilson Chandler, who was playing a do-it-all wing role, defending multiple positions while knocking down timely jumpers. We had David Lee, I think. And if so, it was in his final years before he was being traded, but he was a big man that was a glue. Undersized but skilled, running the floor, setting screens, finishing plays. And for the first time in years, the Knicks, we were more relevant. We were fun. We were dangerous too. And the Garden was buzzing with a mix of disbelief and hope. And then your hating ass boy, Charles Barkley, gonna open his mouth. Not everyone was impressed. Barkley was on TNT at that time, inside the NBA. He infamously declared that no team would ever win a championship shooting so many threes. It was a sentiment that was widely shared around the league at that time, and it helped discredit what we were doing. Threes were a gimmick to them. That's how the thinking went. And the path to a title was paved with post-ups, mid-range jumpers, and size. But the Knicks kept firing away. In fact, we were ahead of our time. In the 2010-2011 season, the Knicks attempted 26 threes per game. That was a staggering number for that era. The top three in the league. We weren't just surviving with it, we were thriving. Before Carmelo Anthony's trade reshaped everything, the Knicks looked poised to push into the playoffs as a dangerous dark horse. For a brief moment, it had felt like D'Antoni had imported the future of basketball to New York. So you know why he was salty after the whole Carmelo Anthony thing. We were Golden State before Golden State. When we look back at those Knicks teams, we look back at them now, the parallels to the Warriors' later dynasty are impossible to miss. That's why I keep harping on it. The Knicks under D'Antoni weren't just jacking threes. They were embracing pace and space in a league that hadn't yet caught up. Our offensive philosophy forced defenses to stretch, leaving lanes open, and Amar'e's rim runs and Chandler's slashes. Felton thrived in pick and roll actions, punishing defenses that dared to sag. It looked chaotic to some, but in hindsight, it was a blueprint for today's basketball. Fast forward just a few years, Golden State under Steve Kerr would perfect that formula. With Steph Curry, with Klay Thompson, with Draymond Green. They turned high volume three-point shooting into the engine of a dynasty. They didn't just take Barkley's critique personally, they obliterated it. By 2015, the Warriors were champions, shooting even more threes than those D'Antoni Knicks, and proving once and for all that yes, you can win a title bombing from deep. The Knicks, of course, never got to find out. The Melo trade dismantled the roster. It disrupted the chemistry, and it shifted the offense back towards ISO-heavy basketball. What could have been a laboratory for the future of the sport instead became another what if in Knicks lore. That's why I was tight. That's why I'm salty about Carmelo Anthony. But the DNA of that era, the willingness to push the boundaries of three-point shooting, the recognition that basketball's future was in pace and space, it always remained imprinted on this city's memory. So that brings us to Mike Brown's vision today. When Mike Brown declared he wants the Knicks to shoot 43s per game, I got hyped. It wasn't just a stylistic note. It was a philosophical marker. It was a throwback to D'Antoni's spirit and a signal that New York may once again become the laboratory of basketball innovation. That's what made me say, let's give him a shot. And why 43s? The numbers matter. 40 attempts per game would put the Knicks firmly among the league's leaders. It's a commitment to pace, spacing, and volume. It's not just about analytics through the math. Although the math is clear, threes produce more efficient scoring than mid-range shots. It's also about identity. By aiming for 40, Brown is declaring that the Knicks won't just dabble in the modern game. They'll embrace it fully. But what's the difference this time versus back then? Here's where Brown's vision diverges from D'Antoni's experiment. The talent is better. The Knicks now boast two-way stars like Jalen Brunson, who can both orchestrate and take charges. They have knockdown shooters now up and down the roster with nearly 10% shooting, 35% or better from deep. They have deep versatility and a coach who values defense as much as offense. That's the difference. This isn't a gimmick roster. It's a balanced one. Shooting 43s won't mean sacrificing toughness or identity. It'll mean unlocking the fullest version of a team already built to win. And you want icing on that cake? The East is weakened for the taking. The timing matters. The Eastern Conference is no longer the gauntlet it was in the LeBron era. With the contenders in flux, there is a genuine opening. If the Knicks can combine elite three-point shooting with their already rugged defensive DNA, they could seize the kind of opportunity that D'Antoni's Knicks never had. And this is why it could work. Let's break down why Mike D'Antoni's 43's vision might succeed where past experiments failed. We have depth roster. Unlike 2010, the Knicks isn't a top-heavy collection of streaky shooters. It's layered with depth. Number two, we have defensive balance. D'Antoni's teams are often criticized for neglecting defense. Brown's system is built on accountability. Three, we have cultural buy-in. The current Knicks have an identity of unselfishness and toughness. High-volume threes won't clash with ego-heavy players. The fourth point, historical validation. The Warriors proved Barkley was wrong. The league now recognizes that winning with threes isn't just possible, it's optimal. And with the arsenal that we have, how is this Knicks roster fit for 40 three-pointers a game? What makes Mike Brown's declaration more than just talk is the composition of our roster. Unlike 2010, the Knicks were leaning on the hot hand of Gallinari or the streakiness of Wilson Chandler. This group is loaded with legitimate shooters across all five positions. If the goal is 43s a game, the personnel is already in place to not just meet that quota, but to do it efficiently. And you know it starts with Cap. He's the engine with range. Brunson isn't Steph Curry, no, but he doesn't need to be. He's a methodical scorer who has gradually extended his range every season. Defenses can no longer duck under screens on him. He'll bury those open threes. More importantly, his gravity as a paint touch guard collapses defense, creating kick-out opportunities that fuel a 40-point philosophy, a 40-attempt philosophy. Then we have OG, who's a corner sniper. Every three-point offense needs a specialist who punishes defense from the corners. We didn't have that with RJ. And Anunoby fits that bill perfectly. He may not be a high-volume shooter, but his efficiency, particularly on spot-ups, is elite. Put him on the weak side, corner where Brunson or Clarkson run pick and roll, and he becomes the release valve that forces defenses into no-win choices. Then we got our boy Mikal Bridges. He is a balanced wing threat. Bridges is a connector. He's not just a catch-and-shoot guy. He's comfortable pulling up from three off the dribble, especially in transition. That versatility makes him a nightmare in a system where the ball is flying around. He can serve as the second or third initiator, ensuring that we don't stagnate into Brunson-only creation. His three-point volume has steadily risen each year, and under Mike Brown's green light philosophy, it could take another leap. Then we added this season Clarkson, who is more of a heat check specialist. If there is one guy on this roster who embraces the audacity of 43s a night, that's Clarkson. He's fearless. He's a capable person who could swing the momentum for us in a rotation that's filled with steady two-way guards. Clarkson is a wild card. A player who can get up 6 threes in 12 minutes and completely tilt the second quarter. Every team that's chasing a volume shooting identity needs a microwave scorer who lives for those shots. And we got one. Then you got our guy, the dancing bear. Bring that man in. Yabusele is the X factor. He screams bruiser, but his game includes a legitimate perimeter shot. And that combination makes him invaluable. In a league where small ball shooting bigs often get bullied, Yabusele can hold his ground physically while still spacing the floor. His ability to step out to the arc keeps the lane open for Brunson's drives and Cat's post work. And then let's not talk about our hidden gem. Let's not talk about Deuce, baby. Deuce isn't a household name around the league, but his steady improvement from 3 is what gives this roster depth. He's the kind of player who can quietly knock down 2 or 3 threes on a random Tuesday in January and help the team stay on pace for his 40 attempt goal. Every possession matters. And having bench guards who can keep the shooting volume alive is what separates a philosophy from a fad. And recently, we've added on Shamet. We brought him back. He's more of a pure specialist. Shamet is built for this system. His entire identity in the league has been as a floor spacer running off screens, spotting up, punishing defenses that collapse. He doesn't need the ball. He doesn't need plays called for him. In a motion-heavy, high-volume three-point offense, Shamet is a lubricant that keeps everything smooth. Pause. Then we got our boy Josh Hart. He's a little bit reluctant, I ain't gonna lie, but Josh Hart will knock it down. Hart isn't gonna lead the team in attempts, but he embodies the unselfish ethos that makes the system work. He'll take the open threes when defenses try to disrespect him, and he'll hit them, often enough to force coverage. More importantly, his offensive rebounding gives the Knicks second chance threes. It gives the Knicks a hidden weapon in the math of volume shooting. You want 40 attempts? Hart might generate 5 of them things a night just by stealing extra possessions. And then what Knicks fans have been calling for years, we now got a big stretch anchor. Karl-Anthony Towns. This is the piece that everything changed with. Cat isn't just a stretch big. He's one of the greatest three-point shooting centers in NBA history. His presence ensures that the Knicks can space the floor at all times, no matter the lineup. He can hit pick and pop threes, trail threes, or even above the break bombs. He is the antidote to defenses that might otherwise try to load up on Brunson. With Cat pulling bigs away from the rim, the entire philosophy of 43s becomes not just possible, but it becomes devastating to them. So this is the new era that we're looking at. And I'm hoping this can launch us into the new East Coast era. If the Knicks can pull this off, we won't just be another team following the Warriors' footsteps. We'll be something more poetic. It'll be a reclamation of a revolution that started in our own building. New York could become the stage where the Warriors era is reborn. Not as a copycat though, but as an evolution. A new cast, a new coach, a new coast. The Garden once again could be the birthplace of basketball's future. And that's needed for New York because New York used to be known as the Mecca of point guards and basketball. Charles Barkley said no team could win a championship shooting so many threes. He was just speaking for an era that didn't yet understand the math. The Knicks were ahead of their time, but their experiment ended before the world was ready. Now, Mike Brown is offering to finish the job. If the Knicks can embrace 43s a night, not recklessly, but as a fully integrated system that we've seen so far in preseason, they won't just be playing modern basketball. They'll be making history. They'll be proving that sometimes revolutions don't die. They just wait for the right moment, the right roster, and the right coast to come alive again. F Boston. F the Heat. F the Bucks. F anybody who tries to claim they have culture. This evolution, this era belongs to Knicks culture. What say you? Keep this in mind. The same thing applies to life. That applies to our team. If there is no struggle, there's no progress. But also remember this. Whether it's out there in the real world or here in these YouTube streets, here at Knicks Deli, baby, everybody eats. I'm your boy, Shia, and I'm out.